Welcome to Virtual Travel by Brian, your boy, coming at you live from, well, not live, obviously, this is a YouTube video, people. But hey, that's the magic of the internet, right? Today we're diving into a topic that's a little less Instagrammable and a lot more real talk. We're talking about the top 10 countries that might not be rolling out the red carpet for black travelers. So buckle up, folks, because we're about to get real uncomfortable. First up on our world tour of places that might make you miss home cooking is Saudi Arabia, the land of oil money, luxurious deserts, and apparently a whole lot of side-eye if your melanin is poppin'. But apparently all that wealth doesn't translate to treating everyone equally. 70% of labor disputes in Saudi Arabia involve black workers. A lot of these folks are coming from African countries looking for work, trying to make a better life. But what they often find is a system that treats them like, well, less than human. It's like the modern-day version of come for the gold, stay because you're basically trapped. So, yeah, Saudi Arabia, you might have all the oil money in the world, but when it comes to treating black people right, you're running on fumes. Next up, we're hopping on over to the land of the rising sun, Japan. Now, I love me some sushi anime and those toilets that practically give you a spa treatment. But let's be real, folks, Japan's got some work to do when it comes to diversity. Japan is a country that prides itself on homogeneity, and when something or someone disrupts that carefully curated uniformity, well, things can get a little awkward. If you don't fit the mold, you're gonna feel it. A staggering 45% of black expats living in Japan say they've experienced racial bias. It's like Japan's got this invisible force field that says, tourists welcome, diversity not so much. So yeah, if you're planning a trip to Japan, pack your bags with patience, a sense of humor, and maybe a few extra doses of resilience. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to dive into a country that's as complex and contradictory as they come, India. Now, India's got it all: stunning landscapes, vibrant culture, Bollywood dance numbers that'll make you want to get up and shake what your mama gave you. But beneath all that beauty and spice lies a dark undercurrent: colorism. This obsession with fair skin is everywhere you look, from matrimonial ads to Bollywood movies to everyday conversations. And for black travelers, this colorism can manifest in some pretty uncomfortable ways. We're talking everything from being stared at like you're some exotic creature, to being denied service, to even facing outright discrimination. A jaw-dropping 62% of black expats in India say they've experienced racial discrimination. It's like India took the concept of a caste system and decided to apply it to skin tone. Get ready to say annyeonghaseyo to South Korea, the land of K-pop kimchi, and, well, let's just say a whole lot of staring. Now, don't get me wrong, South Korea's got a lot going for it. The technology's top-notch, the food's delicious, and the people are generally polite. But when it comes to diversity, let's just say South Korea's still got some catching up to do. South Korea is a country that values conformity. And when you stick out like a sore thumb in a sea of sameness, well, let's just say you're gonna feel the heat. You might get some curious looks, some whispers behind your back, maybe even a few awkward encounters. And for black travelers, this can be especially challenging. So yeah, if you're planning a trip to South Korea, pack your patience, your sense of humor, and maybe a few extra doses of self-confidence. Next up on our list is Israel, a land steeped in history, religion, and unfortunately, a whole lot of complexity when it comes to race. Israel's got this thing about Jewish identity which, fair enough, it's a Jewish state. But things get messy when you factor in the African Jewish community, many of whom are immigrants from Ethiopia. These are folks who are Jewish, through and through, but because of their skin color, they often face discrimination and prejudice. And it's not just African Jews who are feeling the brunt of this. Black migrants and refugees from other parts of Africa often find themselves facing suspicion, hostility, and even violence. In 2023 alone, racial incidents targeting African immigrants in Israel shot up by a whopping 30%. It's like someone took the concept of love thy neighbor and decided to add an asterisk that says, conditions apply. We're heading over to Eastern Europe now, to a country that's been through the ringer lately, both literally and figuratively, Ukraine. Now, Ukraine's got a rich history, beautiful landscapes, and a resilience that's truly admirable. But let's be real, folks, when it comes to racial tolerance, Ukraine's got some work to do. Ukraine, like a lot of Eastern European countries, has a bit of a homogeneity problem. And when you combine that with a history of conflict and a whole lot of economic uncertainty, well, let's just say it creates a breeding ground for prejudice and discrimination. And for black travelers, this can translate to a whole lot of uncomfortable encounters. Ukraine consistently ranks as one of the least racially tolerant countries in Europe. That's not just a statistic, that's a reflection of a deep-seated problem that needs to be addressed. Let's set sail for Greece, the land of ancient ruins, crystal-clear waters, and unfortunately, a rising tide of racial tension. Greece has become a major entry point for migrants and refugees fleeing conflict and poverty in Africa and the Middle East. And while many Greeks have shown incredible compassion and hospitality, there's also been a disturbing rise in xenophobia and racism. And for black travelers, this can create a climate of uncertainty and discomfort. Imagine walking down the street minding your own business, only to be met with suspicious glances, racist slurs, or even physical harassment. The situation is particularly dire for black migrants and refugees, who often face discrimination in housing, employment, and even access to healthcare. Now, I'm not saying Greece is all bad, but until Greece confronts its demons and dismantles the systemic racism that plagues its society, it's going to remain a destination where black travelers tread cautiously, if at all. Get ready to say ciao to Italy, the land of pizza pasta, and, unfortunately, a heaping site of racism. Italy, like a lot of European countries, has seen a surge in anti-immigrant sentiment in recent years. And guess who often becomes the target of this misplaced anger and fear? You guessed it, black people, particularly those from African countries. And for black travelers, this can translate to a whole lot of uncomfortable encounters. We're talking everything from being stared at like you're some exotic creature, to being denied service, to even facing outright discrimination. Italy has experienced a 35% surge in racially motivated crimes, with African immigrants bearing the brunt of the abuse. So, yeah, if you're planning a trip to Italy, pack your bags with patience, a sense of humor, and maybe a few extra doses of resilience. You're gonna need it. Hold on to your chopsticks, folks, because we're about to venture into the Middle Kingdom, China, a land of ancient wonders, modern marvels, and let's just say, a complicated relationship with race. China's got a long and fascinating history, but when it comes to diversity and inclusion, let's just say they're still figuring things out. China's got this thing about homogeneity, and when you combine that with a healthy dose of nationalism, and a government that's not exactly known for its embrace of dissent, well, let's just say it creates an environment where racism can fester. And for black travelers, this can translate to a whole lot of uncomfortable encounters. We're talking everything from stares and whispers to being denied service to even facing outright discrimination. And while China's economic rise has brought about some changes, and there's a growing awareness of the need for greater diversity and inclusion, let's just say there's still a long way to go. It's like they're trying to build a great wall to keep out anything that challenges their worldview. And last but not least, we arrive at Russia, a vast land of icy tundras, majestic cathedrals, and unfortunately, a long and troubling history of racism. Russia's got a lot to offer, from its rich culture and literary giants to its stunning natural beauty. But let's be real, folks, Russia's got a racism problem, and it's not one they're exactly eager to address. Russia's got this thing about ethnic purity, a concept that's been used to justify discrimination and violence against anyone who doesn't fit the mold. And for black travelers, this can create a climate of fear and uncertainty. Russia has seen a surge in hate crimes in recent years, with black people, along with other minority groups, being targeted. Now, I'm not saying everyone in Russia is a card-carrying racist, but let's just say the problem is deeply ingrained in society. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 countries where black people might want to pack an extra suitcase full of patience, resilience, and maybe a dash of I'm ready for anything attitude. Look, I know this wasn't exactly a lighthearted travelogue filled with stunning drone shots and me sipping cocktails on a beach. But someone's got to keep it real, right? The truth is, the world can be a beautiful, diverse, and welcoming place, but it can also be a messy, complicated, and sometimes downright prejudiced one. This video wasn't meant to discourage you from exploring the world. It was about empowering you to do so with your eyes wide open, aware of the challenges you might face, and prepared to navigate them with grace, strength, and maybe a dash of humor.